Okay guys, in this video I'm going to show you an actual lifetime video how I create some of these snowflake flowers. I've not timed myself before, so I'm thinking it's going to be at least a half an hour, might even be 45 minutes, might be close to an hour. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but if that is too long for you, just skip ahead. Okay, and so what I'm using is just a piece of tissue paper. The weight on this, I'm not sure, but it's very, very light. And I use a cutting board and I use a craft knife, and I'm just tightening this. And this is a just a standard X-Acto knife. Now, I am not I am not good at folding tissue paper or any kind of paper into a six-sided star. So when I fold these up, they're going to be 4 or 8-sided. Hence, I call it a flower. So most of this video is going to be quiet. I mean, I don't see myself really talking. I mean, I generally don't. I'm usually listening to a podcast when I'm doing these, or I am listening to music. So what I do is I just really fold this up and make sure that my folds are nice and flat. I don't want any wrinkles. Now you're going to see there are some wrinkles in this, but as I start using this and applying pressure with the knife, these surface wrinkles actually completely fade out. So I'm not even worried about that. Oh, I didn't tell you how big this was. Let's see. This is about 6.5 by a 6.5 size square tissue paper. And so please feel free to leave your comments below. And these are really fun to make. Okay, so like how I started this. Well, a long time ago when my kids were little. They're all grown up now. My kids were in a homeschool group, and they were I was showing them how to make, you know, just paper snowflakes, you know, with just regular copy paper. And I started making one really small, and I couldn't fold it because it was just too thick. And so I figured, well, you know, what if I used a different type of paper? And so I went home and I grabbed some tissue paper. And of course, you know, using scissors, you can only manipulate those scissors around that paper so much. And then, you know, it becomes too bulky. You can't get a real tiny cut and things like that. So I started using a craft knife. And I found that by using a craft knife, I can get extremely detailed with my design. Okay, so I got this really tight, and I apologize, I can't get the camera down any further. It's on a tripod. I would love, one of the things that's on my wish list is to get one of those lamps that are circular that you can actually put the camera on and then drop down the camera as low as possible. So right now this piece is measuring about just past 4 inches, like 4 1/8. And so what I do for this particular one, different varieties, I do sometimes cut this straight, other times I cut it on an angle. And I want my paper cut to have a nice, beautiful angle. So I'm going to cut it like this. Now, when I do this, this is 8 layers of tissue paper that I'm going to be cutting through. So I go through, sometimes I go through 2 blades. And you might say, well, gosh, you know, that's excessive. Yeah, I know. But that's just how it is. Okay, so it's still at 3 1/4 or 3/4. And so anyway, if I think that if I start talking too much, that what happens is I'm going to take off, oh, I don't know, like about right here, depending on how much. If I take off a lot, and I'm going to end up with a big hole in the center, take off a smaller one. I'm just going to take off like maybe just a little over 1/4 of an inch. Something like that. And sometimes if I start talking, I start slowing down, and then my hands, I'm not cutting. My hands are still, I'm not painting. A lot of people don't know that I actually do paper cuts a lot. So anyway, going back, and forgive me, I do double talk. That's just one of the quirky things that I do. I start talking about one subject and I go on to another. I'm sure you guys never do that, right? It happens. So, I'm just kind of figuring out how I'm going to do this. All right, so I'll do this. Now, some designs I do know a little bit how they're going to come out. Other times, not so much. And you're going to see me put my head in here. My eyesight's not 100% good. So, don't get old, guys. And when I cut these, I like to get this in, I don't know, can you even see that? Okay, see that? I like to get that within one cut. Nice clean cut here. And I didn't do that. Nice clean cut. Now, like I said, this is going to take some time. You know, if it's something like, yeah, you know what, I don't have the time to watch this, you know, feel free to skip over. All right. So, we're just going to do some designs on here. And if, I don't know if my noggin's in there. If it shows up, my apologies. And I want to bring this up so you can see this. All right, so gives you an example. Wow, where's my camera? Where's my camera here? I don't know if you can see that. If I had blank sheet of paper, I think. Put it on this right here. I don't know if you can see that tiny hole. There we go, a little bit. So I just created that tiny little hole. I have it on this tongue depressor because I use the tongue depressor to sometimes press my folds real tight. So anywho's, I'm just going to start cutting here, and I hope my head's not, no, it doesn't look to be, that's good. If you hear some noise outside or something like that, it's my doing the laundry. All right, let's see. When I do these tiny little cuts is when I really wish I could get my camera down low so you can actually see what I am seeing. But I'll bring this up a little bit more so you can see how I'm actually creating those tiny little cuts in there. So anywho,
my kids were young, I started cutting these using X-Acto knife, using real thin paper, and I graduated to tissue paper. And I've just gotten so used to it that this is comfortable for me. If you were to fold a copy paper about 8 times, it's going to be so thick and bulky that even just using regular scissors, it's kind of hard to do that. Got to have some strength in your hands. And yes, I am pressing down hard because even though this is tissue paper and thin, I have to go through 8 layers, and I want to make sure my cuts on the first time are nice and clean. Okay. This blade will actually dull very quickly. So I go through blades a lot. Like if I do my crane, whew, I went through a lot of blades for that. So when I start doing these for my portfolio, I know I'm gonna be going through lots of blades. Now, actually what gets dull or broken is actually the very tip of this blade. The 3/4 of this is extremely sharp. It's razor sharp. I'm really just using probably an eighth to maximum 1/4 of an inch of this whole entire blade. The tip is what breaks because I'm applying extreme pressure. Well, I mean, I'm not doing that, but to go through 8 layers. But when I do like the crane paper cut, now this is something I usually don't like to do, is flip over my paper, because sometimes I can't get a nice clean cut this way. But hey, you do what you do to get the final piece how you want it, right? So sometimes you have to go over your cut a little bit. But anywho, when I do the real fine cutting like the crane, I'm using 140-pound watercolor paper. It's very thick. I'm just cutting through 1 layer, and so, which is a complete opposite of cutting with this, because no, I'm not cutting my fingernail, don't worry. Looks like that, but it's not. All right, you're seeing how I'm making a mess of this. So I'll clean that up. What's happening is there's the tissue paper. One side of it has a gloss. If you look at tissue paper, depending on the brand, you will have both sides that are matte. Okay. This has a sheen to it on one side and then a flat side. So that's like the sheen. Well, one of these sides is a flat. When I open it up at the very end, you'll see. And I do my detail cuts first. I generally don't do my big cuts, even though this looks like a big cut. If I did a larger one up here, it would be much more detailed. All right. All right, so let me show you what I got so far. All right, so I don't know if you can see that. All right, I'm not going to open it up, because if I open it up, even at this stage, trying to put those folds as tight as possible, each fold nestled tightly, I'm going to end up with the gap, and I'll never get it completely folded as tight as the original fold. It's just the nature of the paper. I have used wrapping paper. It's a little bit tricky because some of that wrapping paper, again, if it has a high gloss to it, it makes my blade slip. Not good. Especially when blade is extremely sharp. I remember one time, I don't know what my dad was thinking. My dad always used X-Acto knives on his, he was working on like airplane modeling and that kind of stuff. And I wanted to use the blade. I don't understand. Maybe I was doing something for school, or I don't understand. All I know is that he showed me how to use the blade. And don't put your finger in the path of the blade. Yeah, I got it. I was about 8 years old. And, you know, I was doing quite well. Everything was good. Somehow my thumb got underneath the blade and I went and I sliced my whole thumb. So, how ironic that I am doing, you know, these little art pieces or craft pieces, whatever you call it, and I'm using an X-Acto knife. All right, let's add a design in here. When I do this, I always have to know or be aware of where my folds are and where, like what side I can cut on. Like this side is the complete fold, and I have to make sure I have sections that are folded here. If I were to make this, if I were to cut this whole piece, like do a straight line here, the whole thing would fall apart. Whereas on this side, there are some folds and then there are not some folds. So again, I can do a little bit, and I just have to be cognizant in where I'm putting the cuts. So yeah, leave your questions below. Let's see if I can do another one. Let's see, I will leave this one. I like doing these in the winter. I can hang them up in the window. And if you notice, my fingers are sticking to the paper. It's because of moisture, just, you know, oils from your skin. That's another reason why I like to do it in the winter. Is doing this in the summer where the humidity is high. Everything sticks to you. Those little paper shards. It's worse than confetti. And then, of course, it doesn't help that the lamp is producing some heat, even though technically it's not supposed to. Well, I'm almost done with this. Let me bring this up a little bit. I don't know. Well, it's only been about 19 minutes, almost 20 minutes. That's not too bad. thought maybe I'd bore you guys to death if it was a real long video. So I want to show you something here. Like, say, for example, I want to add a cutting in through here. It's going to be really difficult because it's quite thin, whereas over here I can add a lot of detail. Detail meaning the small little cuts. But I think I could do it. Let's see what happens. This is a type of craft or art that one does not do this very quickly. If you're in a hurry to get something done, go paint, go draw, go do something else. Because you will have an accident. The sharpness of this blade, you can even use a scalpel, are unforgiving. All right, so I was able to get that little hole in there, that little triangular hole right there. I don't know if you can see it right there. All right, I think when I do these videos, I'm going to have a sheet of paper, white sheet of paper, so you can see this. In fact, I probably could get it right now. Yay! So maybe you can see it a little bit better. All little tiny cuts. All right, let's continue. All right, so I got that. Let's put another little one in there. I think I can do another one. I can feel that my blade is getting dull. Even though it's still very sharp, I can tell. And I don't want to pull on these shards because I will tear it, and I don't want to tear. There's a little piece that's still... Oh, I got it. All right, so I can show you what that looks like. So I got the two little... Oh, good grief. All right, so I've got the two little triangles in there. There you go. Can you see it? All right, let's do more. And we're at, 24 minutes, going on 25 minutes. That's not too bad. And I'm not at all rushing. Like I said, this is something you don't rush. got a big triangle here. Just double checking the corners here. Slice through.
Yeah, let's see. There we go.
Sometimes when I get to the end, it starts to unfold. Sometimes when I'm cutting, as I'm pressing down on the tip will actually bend.
I don't know. I mean, I can see it. I don't know if you can see it. But the tip is getting worn on that blade. Let's see. You probably have to zoom in to see the very tip of that, but it is slightly, it's getting dull. And again, it's just, I'm really just using a tiny portion of it.
Okay, it's coming apart here. Did not come apart, not yet. All right. I think, yep, I did. I heard that little crack. I broke my point.
So, what does the point look like? I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like it comes to a point, but if you were to zoom in, actually the point kind of looks like this. So this is what I had. I had something like that. Can we see the point? See how this very nice, tight, pointed blade is? Now, when you look at it, there is a flat edge right here. And what I did is I broke it and it goes into the pad. So yeah, so when I have something like this is when I would change my blade. And the blade itself, I still keep these. I just use them for other things. You know, to cut other things, and then I discard it. But if the point is broken like that, I cannot get a clean cut. So it will actually drag and pull the tissue paper. And I don't want that.
this is where it gets kind of tricky because all these individual layers want to separate, and I have to get it just right so that when I put this next cut in, this is why I like to do just one single cut, because once these layers start moving, then when I put this cut in, it may often create a second cut. Well, yeah, I guess I could separate these and then cut them individually. I could do that. That's like a, but then I don't want to, I could do that. And it's so tempting when you do these paper cuts. Just, you know, if this shard is not coming out, it's so tempting to pull that. But then you end up with a hanging, you know, it's ragged edge here, or a hanging piece, and those are a pain to, seems like the more you work at it, the worse it gets. So let's see if I can get this again. So it's a little tricky, but I can get it. It has been done before. I think it's just one that's hanging. I think all of these went through. I think. Okay. It happens. It's because it's at the very end, and it's going to, you know, it slips like this. When it slips like this, it's because of the one side of the tissue paper has that gloss on it, and you wouldn't think anything of it, like, oh, this, you know, it's pretty, it's got, you know, one side's a little glossy, one side's not, but you know, you may never even notice it on tissue paper. But that's what makes this come apart. And sometimes it will actually make my blade slip, and I have to be very careful of that, because that's where I can cut myself. I don't want that to happen. Well, you are making me work. Usually I don't have this much problem. But we shall prevail. All right, so all I have to do is just clean that up a little bit. Now, I usually don't like to do this when I have to take it apart in between, you know, the folds, kind of separate them and then individually cut a section so that it doesn't have these hanging jagged edges. I don't like doing this. I think it's the blade. Let's get a new one. Instead of trying to make it work, let's just get a sharper blade. Now, some people who use, who do paper cutting will actually use a scalpel. I have not yet, but I think I would like to try it just to see. They say it's more precise. All right, come on, behave. There we go. So a nice sharp blade cuts like butter. Yay! Haha, I got it. All right, so here we go. All right, so see how nice that is? So I want to do a little bit more cutting. And I know you're probably thinking, there's more to cut? Yeah. Oh, sure. There's lots. I'm not going to cut up here because it's, but I think I can cut it here. These are the tiny little cuts. Ah, it slid. There we go. All right, let's just take this, make it like that. And let's see. Can I do anything in here? I think we got it. Okay, I think we're done. Alrighty. So it's been what? 38 minutes. Okay, about 40 minutes. All right, so let me dry my hands because my hands always get, you know, with the humidity and all, sweaty. All right, let's see what this looks like. Okay, so when you open these up, if you happen to do one, you go slowly and do not rush. Okay, so that's like 1/8. What we were cutting, this is like 1/8. And sometimes I will blow on it to kind of get it to move, especially if I'm separating the folds. All right, here we go. It's not actually in half. There we go. Now it's in half. All right, so this is 1/4. All right, let's open it up. Very gently. You know, it is a snowflake. This is a practice on how to be gentle. Any homeschoolers out there want a lesson for your kids how to be gentle? Have them do a paper, you know, using scissors, you know, make themselves a cutout and gently open it up. Okay, so that's half. Okay. And that, now this is the flat side, and this is the side that has the shine to it. I don't know if it's going to pick up or say on the camera. Now,
depending on how you fold this, there's a few inconsistencies. I mean, not all these cuts are perfect. You see how pretty that is? So like I got this piece here that's not, it did not cut nicely. What's really cool is you can put this on a window. You can put, now if you put this in between like glass, two pieces of glass, clear glass, whoosh, smoosh it, it just spreads out really, 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 really nice. But you can see how pretty that is. Okay. That's the, I think this might be the flat side. Yeah. There you go. All right. All right. So this took 42 minutes, and that's how I do these paper cuts. The next video I have will show you how to put a paper cut and affix it on a glass window pane. All right. Thanks for watching.